home, it's making me get flashbacks. I'm not ready for this. Hey nerds, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute, okay? Just before we get into our video here, I just want to give you a little update on things. So I have been busy, as you can tell by my absence from uploading videos and stuff. I was currently in the process of moving. I'm all moved in now, yay, but some things still need to be taken care of. So that's where I was at. Yeah. I also want to address this before we get into our video today, okay? I had a few of you ask me, why do you film in the bathroom? To be perfectly honest with you, it is the quietest place in my house. Secondly, look at this lighting. The lighting is just so good in the bathroom for no reason, so why would I not film in here? And third, now that I have moved, I do have a studio that I can now film in, but it's not quite ready yet. So until the studio is ready, we're gonna be sitting in this bathroom like we've been doing, okay? Before we get into this video, please leave a like. It really helps me out and I appreciate it. Thank you. Now, by the title, y'all can tell that I'm very excited. So I'm going to be ranking American Horror Story seasons from worst to best. Now, I'm not going to say worst, I would just say, like, you know, the ones that I don't like the most. I don't think I started watching American Horror Story until I was like 14, and there already have been some like seasons going on. Me as a horror fanatic, I was like, oh, let me check this out, because like, here's my thing. When there's hype around a show or a movie, I don't check it out until like at least a year later, because by then the hype's died down. You don't have to worry about spoilers and shit. But it was the same case for American Horror Story. I'm like, everyone's watching, everyone's talking about it, everyone is quoting like one-liners from the show, and I'm just like, I don't get the joke because I don't watch it. Now, it is one of my most favorite shows ever to watch. I recently just rewatched the entirety of the series, when was it? In September. And I finished right around, I want to say, I don't know when I finished, but I rewatched the entirety of the series. So I'm going to be ranking these from 1 to 10. And the reason why I say 10, I know there's 11 seasons because a new one just came out like in October, but I haven't watched it yet. I don't know, like something about the last season made me not want to watch the 11th season. And I know that is like bullshit, but I'm not really feeling it. It's not to say that I don't love the show anymore, it's just that it's definitely not the same since the OGs left the cast. And that isn't to say that the seasons that, you know, excluded the OGs were bad. It just wasn't the same. So when we get to top 3, I'm going to have trouble. I'm going to have trouble, you know, picking which one goes 1 to 3, because these 3, it's like picking a favorite kid. I hope y'all don't pick a favorite kid. Never mind. So let's start at 10. We're gonna go from 10 to 1. Let's do that. Yeah, we're gonna start at 10. So starting at number 10, we have Double Feature. Now, I have never been so mad at a show before. So let me break it down before I get into like me having Double Feature at number 10. So those of you who don't watch American Horror Story, it's an anthology horror series, and each season is a different thing, like a different theme. So like for the first season it was Murder House, and then second season was Asylum, third season Coven. Each season was a different theme, different storyline, different characters, different plot. But then also all of these seasons exist in the same universe. It's like the MCU of horror on FX, like that. Yeah, Double Feature. Yeah, it didn't do it for me. I was so hyped because when I found out that another season was coming out, I was rewatching it again. So here's my thing. Y'all already know me. I like to rewatch shows a lot, especially ones that are like, you know, near and dear to my heart. Last year, or the year before that, I can't remember which time is fuzzy in this noggin of mine, I was rewatching American Horror Story, and then by the time I got to season 8, I found out there was a new season coming out, which was double feature. So I was hyped, I was ready, I was like, yes, because I saw like, you know, vampires and like aliens. Like, we didn't know what it was at first, because, you know, they like drop hints and stuff. And so this season was split down the middle. So the first 5 episodes was one storyline, and then this last 5 episodes was another storyline, hence double feature. The first half of the season was Red Tide, and basically it's a family of 3 that moved to like this town on the Cape. So, because the dad's a writer, he needs to go to get his writing done, and then you have the wife who's pregnant, and then their little girl who's like into violin. So basic rundown of this shit. This dreary little town, there's like these skinhead, not like that. There's these bald, pale creatures that lurk about the town, and they have like sharp teeth. The reason why those creatures are lurking about is because they used to be regular people, but they took a drug that turned them that way. I'll put a picture and everything like that, you know. So this drug was like a little black pill, right? And there's always a catch, because it's drugs, duh. Naturally talented people who take this drug will pump out hit after hit after hit, whether that's music, books, like anything that you could do creatively, they will just pump out hit after hit after hit after hit, because the pill would enhance their natural talent to do so. But the people who were mediocre or just men who took this pill, they wouldn't have the same effect. They would turn into those pale monsters with the sharp teeth, because they really didn't have truly anything special about them. And then the other catch was, you taking this drug, or the characters taking this drug in the show, they would have to feed on blood, preferably fresh blood. So it turned them into vampires, essentially. Now, I didn't have a problem with the first half. I kind of got into it. The ending was a little too abrupt for me. I hate abrupt endings. I hate cliffhangers. Y'all know me. You already know what I'm on about that. It was okay. And then you get to the second half of the season, which is Death Valley. Long story short, Area 51, aliens, that's it. So this half of the season spends time jumping back from, you know, the 50s in the 60s to present time, and you know, the story was trash. I can't put it any other way. I keep looking in the mirror. I haven't broken the habit yet. Alright, I'm doing a lot with my hands. I noticed. I'm just kind of getting back into the groove. I haven't filmed a video in like over a month, so I'm just, ignore the hands if you can. The story was just, first of all, the second half of the season, Death Valley, it was jumping between then and now too much. And then there's another season of American Horror Story in the early years where their whole focus, well, not whole focus, but the subplot was about aliens, and that was in Asylum. Here's my thing. If all these seasons exist in the same universe, why did they connect the aliens from season 2 in Asylum to the aliens in season 10 in Death Valley? They didn't even make no connections, and that's what American Horror Story does. They make connections. They drop Easter eggs from previous or future seasons in their shows, in their episodes. So I'm like, why did that stop? That was how I felt about Death Valley. Yeah, Death Valley. In the entirety of double feature, if I had to rate it, I would give it like a solid 5 out of 10. And that's being generous. The 5 is simply because of Red Tide, and it was okay at best. So, moving on to the next one. At number 9, we have Roanoke. Now, so this is when I started really watching American Horror Story, is when Roanoke first came out. That's not true. It's when Hotel came out, season 5. And Roanoke is season 6. Season 5 came out. That's when I started from the beginning and started getting into the series. And then I watched season 5, and then when it came time for Roanoke to come out, I was ready. And so the first time that I watched Roanoke and it came out, I didn't like it at all. Like, the story was losing me. I would get confused between like the fake storyline and the real storyline, because here's what happened. Let me break it down for y'all. So in Roanoke, basically, it starts out as this mockumentary of these two people who lived in a house in Roanoke, where Roanoke used to be. And like, you know, they had all this supernatural stuff going on. They had, you know, pigs' heads popping up. It was raining teeth. All just scary stuff happening to them, right? And then it'll go back and forth from like the mockumentary and the dramatized performance of what happened in the house. You know how those kind of shows go. That's what they were doing. It was like a show within a show, basically. It was like a meta season. The only other meta season of American Horror Story was season 7, Cult. And I didn't like Roanoke. I mean, I like it more now because I can follow the storyline a little bit better because I'm older and I understand more. But I had to put it at the bottom because I find myself like getting bored when it goes to the middle of the season, and sometimes towards the end I can't really explain Roanoke, like, because there's too much shit going on. If you watch American Horror Story, you know what I'm talking about. There's just too much going on in Roanoke for me to give you a proper explanation, and I ain't got all day to sit here, even though I'm sitting here. But that's besides the point. If I had to rate this season, I'd probably give it like 6 out of 10. I appreciate Roanoke now, but it's not up there with like my favorites, so, you know, yeah. Moving on to the next one. So from number 8 to number 1, this is where I had a hard time, you know, putting some of these seasons at the bottom, because I genuinely like these seasons. I do. I like them now. At number 8, we got season 5, Hotel. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like it when it first premiered. I like it now, but if I had to choose, it would be at number 8, because listen, this is my main reason of like putting stuff at the bottom. If I get bored halfway through the season because the storyline's getting stale, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, top 5 or top 3, you know? Hotel is good. Can we commend Lady Gaga? That definitely helped this season, I would say, because you can only have so many ideas and then have them be executed well. So the basic rundown of Hotel is basically, it's a little, I wouldn't say parody. It draws inspiration from the Cecil Hotel in California. And if you don't know about that, that's basically like, you know, where the girl Lisa Lamb was playing the elevator game and she ended up in the water tank on top of the roof, and on the security camera she was like pressing all the buttons and like, you know, talking to people that weren't there. Because the Cecil Hotel has been known to like have some creepy shit go down. I can't really get into the vampires and the ghosts of it all because AHS has their set rules of ghosts, vampires, and all the supernatural stuff. But all my AHS watchers know, they get it. Hotel surrounds a basically cursed hotel because the owner was a murderer and he was like stuffing bodies in the walls and stuff and doing all that, so that's why it's cursed and all that stuff. There's vampires living in the hotel, one of which is the incomparable, the queen herself, Lady Gaga. She's a vampire in this. She did so good. She did so good. And then there's ghosts and stuff, and then missing children. That's never fun. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7. I just feel like I got bored like halfway through the season, like I did with another one that I'm gonna bring up. But yeah, that is what Hotel is on my list. Thank you very much. So number 7, I didn't want to put it here, but after some hard thinking, I put it here. At number 7, we have season 9, 1984. Let me explain. I'm going to give you a backstory for each of them. You already know. 1984 is kind of pretty damn self-explanatory, but I'll break it down for those who don't know. This season was basically perpetuating the trope of slasher films in the 80s. You know, it's most specifically The Friday the 13th franchise, you know, they're out at this lake camp, you know, on vacation, and there's a killer running around the campgrounds. You got running while you're falling, overtly sexual characters that die first. That whole thing. All my horror fans, I don't have to explain it to you, but those of you who don't know, there you go. Okay, I find this there's a motif happening. Like, most of these seasons I did not like upon first viewing, and this was also the case for 1984. I didn't like it because I'm also an avid appreciator of stuff that came out of the 80s, whether it's like music, movies, especially movies. I was excited. I said, oh, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be fun, I'm gonna love it. I didn't love it at first. Now when I rewatched it for the second time in 2021, I said, okay, I can appreciate this a little bit more, because I was seeing it as there's not enough 80s references, there's not enough 80s music that is well known, and that was my problem. I was expecting too much, and had I gotten those expectations like that I did want, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway, because having a broader net cast for what the 1980s were, that's important, because it's usually tied with like really bad style, really bad hair, really bad music, and the AIDS epidemic. But this, AHS did a good job of depicting, you know, not only the perpetuation of the slasher film trope, but of 80s culture, and I enjoy it. I love it now. I just love it now. It's good to me now. I like it, you know. I don't get bored halfway through with the other ones that I have listed before. I like this season, but it's just gonna have to sit at what was it, number 7? Moving on to the next one. At number 6, coming in at 6th place, is season 2, Asylum. I know some of y'all are hating me, seething right now. Now it's not, listen, this is not to say I don't like Asylum. It's just not up there with the ones that I love. Because, here's the thing, it's the same thing. I love Asylum like the first half of the season, and then like towards the middle, I get bored. I'm like, okay, now what? Now what? Now what? Now what? Now what? And then towards the end of the season, this is where I perk back up. That's where I get interested again. Now, Asylum, self-explanatory, duh. It's set in the 1960s. It has some aliens in it. Then it has the asylum in it with some very domineering nuns and doctors, crazy people, sex, alien abductions, trying to escape. There's also a killer out on the loose. What was his name in the show? The killer? Bloody Face. Yes. Yeah, it was a lot. Good season. It's just not on my top 5 or top 3. We love you though. Now we're getting into top motherfucking 5. Okay. This is gonna make people mad again. At number 5, we have season 1, the one that kicked it all off, that started it all, Murder House. Now, I'm not saying Murder House is awful. I'm not. It's just at 5, because I have ones that need to be at the top 3 spots, and this is where I chose to put Murder House at. I love Murder House because this was like the best introduction that I could have gotten to Thaisa Farmiga. Kimmy, if you're watching this, you look like her. I don't care what you say, you look like Thaisa Farmiga. I'll put a picture side by side of these two, and you tell me they don't have a likeness. I got off track, but anyway, there was something really special about Murder House. Like, the theme wasn't too out there for its very first season of American Horror Story, but it was just enough. You know, haunted house, haunted cursed house with all these ghosts living in it. Simple yet effective. We love Murder House. And then there was also the controversial thing with the, you know, school shooting and all that stuff, because that's a very real issue still happening today in our society, and we wish it would stop. But that really brought a sense of reality. Also with going through marital problems and all that stuff, Ryan did his thing with season 1. Moving on to the next one. At number 4, we have Apocalypse, season 8. Now I'm gonna get some flack for this because some people, most people, and I'm talking about like AHS fans, they hate this season. And at first, I did too. I was just so fascinated with the storyline because that was creative. That was creative. You can't tell me that storyline was not creative. It was. This season had the most connections between prior seasons, like in the entirety of the show. Like, yes, other seasons like, you know, bring people back from this season or that season or like reference it in future seasons, but season 8 had the most where it visited different seasons, and I love that because it was basically season 8 brought in a lot of season 3, which was Coven, and the whole like Antichrist thing, bringing about the end of the world, and then the witches come and like reverse that. I just spoiled the whole thing. I'm so sorry. I can't really put it into words. Like, the storyline kept me laser focused the entire. You had, first of all, it was a lot of stuff going on, but it was in a good way. You had the Antichrist rising up. You had the witches coming back. You had the dang outpost with the people in it who were chosen there by the what is it called? The cooperative in the show. They called the Illuminati the cooperative. They brought the Illuminati into this. It was so interesting, and then like I don't know why I didn't like it. I think it was because I wasn't really too educated about what was happening in the series. But now, like, if I would watch it again, I probably will, like, within the next few months, because I do, like, every 6 months that I rewatch it. I know that's really bad, but it's just a good season. It's a good season. The ending gave me, it pissed me off just a little bit because it was a cliffhanger ending. And I think the reason why most people don't like this season is because they don't appreciate it for what it is and what it's like showing. And I think the Satanist stuff kind of like turned people off, even though this is freaking fiction. Okay, see, it gets controversial real fast because this season does heavily surround Satanism and the Antichrist and witches and stuff, and that turned people off. But you should have known about that when you watched Murder House and Coven. Murder House introduced the Antichrist stuff when it happened. I can't spoil it anymore. I'm trying to not spoil stuff. But yeah. And then you knew about the witches because that was basically the name of the season is Coven. It's a coven of witches. And then when season 8 comes around, oh, we don't want nothing to do with this because it's promoting Satanism. It's fiction and it's horror. What are you trying to get from this? Like, it's fiction. It ain't real. It's fake. Okay? Oh my God. But yeah, season 8 in my book now. You had number 4. Good job. Now we're getting to my top 3. So without further ado, number 3. Coming in at number 3, we have Freak Show season 4. Now listen, growing up as a weird child. Growing up being a weird child, a weird little enigma in the corner. I love the circus. I love clowns. I love, like, you know, freak show stuff. And then this was probably the most whimsical season of American Horror Story. And you just got all these, you had great cast. The woman who played Amazon Eve, loved her. Ma Petite, if y'all know, y'all know. If y'all know, y'all know. Ma Petite. And then you had Sarah Paulson doing her thing, playing the twin that had 2 heads. I'll put a picture up here. Not only did she have to pretend to have another head come out inside of her neck, she had to play 2 distinct personalities that shared the same body and looked the same. That ain't no easy task. Sarah Paulson, we just love you. Something about this season, it was just so good. Our beloved Jessica Lange. Is it Lange? or Lang. I've been saying Lang for years. If it's Lange or Lange or Lang or something, I do not mean to butcher your last name. I love Elsa Mars with everything in her power suits. It was unheard of for women to wear power suits in the 50s because that's where it takes place, in Jupiter, Florida, in the 50s. It was unheard of for women to be wearing pants, let alone pantsuits. I was like, with the fur going across the sable, she did that. Twisty the Clown. Now, usually I'm not afraid of clowns. This season made me question if I was afraid of clowns or not. I'm like, they're clowns. Like, what is scary about clowns? Him? That's nightmare fuel. I'm sorry. Like, do you see what I'm talking about? Like, oh my gosh. Coming in at number 2, by a close second to the number 1 spot, is Cult season 7. Listen, Cult probably was the most controversial season of the series. I don't care. That's what made it good. And here's why I love Cult so much. Because this was the most meta season out of the entire series. The background for this season was the 2016 election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Scary times in America, we all remember. This season came out, I think, a year after the election happened. Yo, that's why I'm saying it's the most meta season, because it even like after a year, too close to home, it's making me get flashbacks. I'm not ready for this. And then you had these amazing characters. And by amazing, some of them are really shitty, but you know an actor does their job when they create a character that you just hate so much doing the job. Doing good at their job. And then you have the cult full of clowns. Clowns, again, I was not afraid of clowns before season 4, and then after season 4 I said, okay, you know, I'm good with the clowns. And then season 7 came out. Clowns everywhere. Oh, okay, wait. Bringing up the clowns, like I said, the most meta season of the series. You know why? Y'all remember when in 2016 there were fucking clown sightings? Clowns popping up here, clowns popping up there, clowns popping up by the McDonald's, clowns popping up in the woods, trying to scare people. They brought that element into the show and made it a part of the show. And not only that, they made it a cult of clowns. Hence the title, but that's not just the main premise of it. I said this is the most meta season of the series. Ooh, because like the theme of this season was fear, obviously, because there were people afraid of Donald getting elected and winning the election. People were afraid of these damn clowns popping up everywhere. And they were also afraid of like their livelihood, you know, like what's gonna happen when this election is over, like how are we gonna live, what's gonna happen to us. And then it was also fear for the LGBTQ community, not also to mention the minorities, because the lesbian couple, they are friends with people who are in the minority, such as Black, you know, Asian, Hispanic, or Latino. It was just a season of fear in real life and in this series. It's just, I'm trying to calm down because it's such a good season. And the one thing I do like, because I'm a nerd, I got obsessed one time. Let me tell you a little story before we move on. There was a point in my life where I went through a phase of hyperfixating on Cult. I thought it was like the most messed up thing in the world, but I loved learning about them. I'm talking about Branch Davidians in Waco with David Koresh. I'm talking Jim Jones. I'm talking Heaven's Gate. I'm talking Manson family. I'm talking all that. I was obsessed with learning about all of those. And then not only did they just reference those cults in the show, they made freaking segments out of them in one scene and did it perfectly. All the cult leaders played by none other than Evan Peters. And are you kidding? Phenomenal season. Phenomenal season. Now y'all already know what's left because y'all been paying attention, obviously. Number 1 spot in my book. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. The best season of AHS there is none other than season 3 itself, Coven. I said this in my book review a few videos back, but I love witches, okay? I've always loved witches growing up. Seeing a mostly female cast for one, and then one of them being black, yes, thank you, give it to me because I want it. You got Thaisa up in there, and you got Gabri Sidibe up in there, love you girl, and then you got none other than Emma Roberts as well. And then this is when the series introduced the queen, my idol in acting, Angela motherfucking Bassett as the voodoo queen Marie Laveau. It can't get no better than that. Now, I will say this. This season was not accurate. They were very inaccurate when it came to like voodoo legends and, you know, Loa. I'm not qualified to speak on it, and I'm not going to speak on it because I don't want nothing to happen to me. But they were not really accurate with their portrayal of some of the characters when it comes to voodoo Loa or entities or practices for that matter. That's the only flaw in this season. But everything else was top 10. Everything was on 10 from the first episode to the last episode. And that's why it's number 1 on my list. That's just it. Like, I don't know what else to say. I'm getting really loud and obnoxious, so I'm gonna just dial it back a little bit. Okay, thank you. That is my list. That is my list. Take a gander, take a look, take a peep. Will this change? Maybe. The top 3 probably not gonna change. So that concludes our video for today. If you enjoy watching me scream passionately about my favorite show in this bathroom, please leave a like and a comment and subscribe if you want to. I guess I will see y'all on the next go round. Okay, bye.